The arrival of mutants in the MCU has already started. And Marvel Studios, by the looks of things, might have found a way to answer all of the questions that we have regarding their existence in the MCU so far, despite not being there in the most crucial moments. And that is why I'm here today, to give you a first look into things and to tell you where things stand right now. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. Recent news suggests that Marvel Studios have already started development on a speculated The Mutants project. Let's call it that for now. And before I continue, I will mention that this is not an X-Men project, but rather a Mutants project. Two different things. Make sure to remember that. But this doesn't mean that there will not be some X-Men characters from Fox's live-action universe making the jump. A clear example right now being Wolverine. But more on him in just a second. Thanks to Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox back in 2019, the MCU is eligible to use the property that belonged to Fox, which ultimately gave them access to the wealth of characters and storylines that came along with the deal. Many fans are excited to know just how big of a potential everything I've said up until this point has. And I am here to tell you that it is more than you could ever imagine. Thus far, nothing has been said about any of the characters that were already introduced in the live action, outside of Wolverine, of course, who was confirmed by Marvel's announcement about Deadpool 3 movie that will take place in the MCU. Make sure to check the announcement yourselves if you haven't already. It's quite interesting, a footage that brought a lot of hype moving forward. And it took nothing more than for Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds to share a few words between them. 3 years have passed since the news of the deal came through, and without anything new about the aftermath of it, fans have been wondering about the mutants, particularly the X-Men, and more importantly, how, when, and where could we see the characters take part in the MCU? There are plenty of theories out there regarding this topic, and judging by how Marvel operates with things, they can either all or none become true when everything is said and done. Marvel has shown that taking things slow and steady is the name of the game with the projects at hand. Thus, it is not alarming at all that nothing official has appeared regarding the rumored Mutants project. The title of the project I mentioned before, The Mutants, is probably the tricky detail many fans missed, because this decision could very well mean that the X-Men could potentially be kept tucked away for the time being, with the team eventually forming sometime in the future. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But the important thing is that the mutants are coming and they are ready to take over the MCU. This could also potentially allow the MCU to hit that like button just like you should if you haven't done so already. But no, in reality, this decision would allow Marvel to introduce or expand the concept of mutants in a single movie with the primary purpose of rebooting the idea of mutants, with the X-Men name coming later down the line. A team which would consist of the mutants present in the MCU at the particular point in time. I have spoken little about the theories that have been circling around the internet regarding the arrival of the mutants and their place in the MCU, meaning, where have they been so far? What have they been doing? And more importantly, how mutants exist in the MCU. And when I rounded up all of them, I found out that there is not only one right answer to what it takes to become a mutant, and how the X gene could potentially manifest itself, under which conditions, or even due to just what kind of energy exposure a certain individual would have to witness to become a mutant, despite that individual being one all the way. One thing that I'd like to mention is the earliest sign of mutants existing in the MCU. And with that in mind, let's dive right in. The first sighting of a mutant in the MCU came through the Ms. Marvel Disney Plus series in the season's finale. And even to this day, it remains to be seen, or rather known, whether the Noor dimension is the key to all of it. It did not take long before Kevin Feige began teasing that the studios might have already figured out how to incorporate the mutants into the shared cinematic universe. And the first hint towards this conclusion came through Bruno, and him checking Kamala Khan's DNA to figure out whether any other members of her family would gain superpowers if they wore the bangle. In this key scene, it was revealed that there was something unique with Kamala's DNA, a mutation of some sort, which was a surprising twist to her story, seeing how she is an Inhuman in the comics, someone whose powers originate from a different strand of DNA, activated by exposure to a substance called Terrigen Mist. This odd twist that Ms. Marvel is a mutant means that other mutants are surely on their way. with their powers somewhat similarly triggered by the Noor dimension or some other type of cosmic energy, maybe even through the Eternals. It is a tough thing to determine. But considering that more and more news regarding the topic has reached the surface, the MCU is probably closer to bringing mutants into the MCU than we might have guessed. The Noor dimension could, in fact, be just one of the ways of, let's say, waking up the mutant gene that would classify an individual as a mutant, meaning that other MCU superheroes could very well be reconnected as secret mutants all along, with Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau being a clear choice to be rewritten as mutants, and their X genes, or the mutant genes, getting activated due to an exposure of an Infinity Stone or Scarlet Witch's Hex, respectively. Other examples could very well be the likes of Wanda and Pietro Maximoff, who got their, let's say, mutant genes through exposure to the Mind Stone, because if you can recall, the Hydra base was put in Sokovia for a reason, with the reason being that several numbers of genetic anomalies have been detected in that area, hence Baron Strucker's base of operation being settled there. All in all, there isn't a particular way in which the mutants could appear in the MCU, but whatever the case may be, I am more than certain that Marvel has figured things out after a smash of the subscribe button and a ringing of the notification bell. But no, rather figured things out after seeing how they have already established several mutants in the MCU. So far, the list of mutants in the MCU includes the likes of Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, the first mutant within the MCU that we know of. Next is Professor X, whose introduction came through the Doctor Strange sequel, and him being part of the Illuminati team, but from a different universe, Earth 838, and not the main timeline where all the other movies take place, Earth 616. Then there is Namor, the first mutant in the comics who made his debut in the latest Black Panther Wakanda Forever movie, as well as Mr. Immortal, who we saw in the She-Hulk series, and Ursa Major from the Black Widow movie, with the last two assumed to be mutants due to their source material, but also the other two mutants already confirmed of coming to the MCU, Deadpool and Wolverine. And that is it for now. But I am more than certain that we will be getting more and more mutants appearing out of nowhere in the MCU. With everything taken into account, the most important thing right now is that the narrative of the MCU being aware of mutants present within it. And although some answers to the many questions out there will not be necessary, one burning question that many fans want an answer to is that of where were the mutants during the events of Avengers Endgame, when their whole existence was close to becoming done and dusted. Regardless of what happens next and the reason behind it all, it will be an interesting and fun thing to see how the MCU will interpret Marvel's mutants and their stories and make them fit in the bigger picture. Something I cannot wait to see played out on the big screen and on the Disney Plus streaming platform. See you in the next video.